Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, as-salatu was-salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. Welcome everybody from around the world. My name is Bilal Abdul Kareem and this is the B8K show, wherein we discuss things which are important to you and to the Muslims at large. Of course, I am your host, Bilal Abdul Kareem, and we're broadcasting live from Syria. And we're going to be talking about Syria here today. But first, we want to let everybody know that we are broadcasting on YouTube and also on X. So there you have it, brothers and sisters. If you have an opportunity, let me just turn the sound down here. If you have an opportunity to share the link with somebody that you think might benefit from this talk, then please do so now. Okay, everybody. We got to talk business here. We got some serious developments which have been taking place just today, and we're going to need to talk about it. First of all, let's get into what took place. There's a place here in Syria called Beit Jinn. Let's take a look at it on the map here. Now, right here on the map, you can see Beit Jinn, okay? Now, as you can see, there is a line, a purple, dark purple line that's there. That is supposed to be separating the area of from the country known as Israel. Now, that's supposed to be a line that they're not supposed to cross, or the Syrians are supposed to cross. Okay, that's important. Now, we're going to talk about it more in a few seconds, but let's talk about what took place in the early hours of the morning today. There was Israeli aggression. Now, what took place? Well, the Israelis came into Syria to arrest some people. And this is not new. This happens on a regular basis. This is not new, brothers and sisters. We talked about Beit Jinn in the summertime when there was a similar incident in terms of the Israelis coming in to arrest people, carry them back to Israel, and we usually don't hear from these people ever again. But what was different about it this time? What was different about it this time is that after entering and exiting and arresting people, raiding homes, the people in the area of Beit Jinn had enough. To be honest with you, there was no real response from the government. They came in this time and they wanted to arrest a suspect, but they got ambushed by waiting fighters who faced off against the Israeli aggression. I have to say to them, may Allah bless them. Ameen. Now, they had had enough of the Israeli aggression coming in and going and arresting people, so they attacked. They surrounded the invading Israeli army, and there was an intense fight. We have numbers that are 6 to 9 injured on the Israeli side. There are some reports that, and even that's in Hebrew media, and there are even some reports that 2 of the injured were officers and 3 are in critical condition. Don't expect that you're going to know much about their cases because the Israelis like to cover their losses. We continue. The aggressors, which are the Israelis, on Syrian territory, over the line in which they are not supposed to cross, came into an ambush. But during the ambush, as the Israeli soldiers were being injured, they called in some airstrikes, and they were able to make good their escape and limp across the line. Now, let's take a look at the map again, and let's talk about why this is so significant. First issue is this. This Beit Jinn area is about 55 kilometers from the Damascus airport. That's about 40 kilometers away from Damascus city, 35 kilometers. That's significant because a lot of people are asking a question. How is it possible that it's local fighters that are resisting Israeli aggression and not fighters from the state or from Ahmed al-Shara? Why aren't his fighters the ones who are carrying the fight to invaders? Now, let's go back again. I want to go back to this map again. And now you see another area called El Kiswa and the hills of El Mani'. Going back in the summer, in the midsummer, there was another attack wherein the Israelis brought forth 4 helicopters, 60 troops, pulled off an operation that lasted for 2 hours by locals' accounts, and they packed up and then they left. Not a shot was fired. In the areas of Dara, again, there was an attack that took place back in March of this year, wherein the Israeli forces entered into the southern areas of Syria in a place called Dara, and they ran into an ambush also at that time. As you can see, locals are starting to take matters into their own hands because they're feeling that the government is not going to protect them. Now, I want you to take a look at a statement which was made by actually a former supporter of Hayat Tahrir Sham, who has since soured a bit on them. And, excuse me, his name is Sheikh Al-Hassan Al-Kattani. Now, he's a well-known Moroccan scholar, and he said, and I quote, "The military's encampment in southern Syria and the targeting of its inhabitants in their homes constitute a defensive jihad, one of the greatest forms of jihad in the path of Allah. It does not require the permission of a guardian," meaning the president, the prime minister, or such like that. In this case, Ahmed al-Shara. "Nor does it necessitate the participation of the armed forces." That means Ahmed al-Shara's military. "Whoever is killed is a martyr by the grace of Allah. All towns and villages should follow the example of their brothers in Beit Jinn. The Mujahideen should strengthen their resolve and rise up to support them." Now, these are his words, not mine. He is a scholar, I'm not, and I'm merely stating to you what he and others have said. There's a lot of concern here that local fighters have to be the ones to carry the fight, which is disappointing because we hear a lot about the state and the state and the military and the state and the state, and now Syria is a state. But we're not seeing it when it comes to facing off against Israeli aggression. Now, some people will sit there and say, well, you know what, Bilal, Syria is not in a position to get into a war with Israel. Well, I think I understand that. I understand that very well. But I also understand something else. Israelis have taken more Syrian territory than they did under the reign of Bashar al-Assad. They feel confident that the government of Ahmed al-Shara is not going to oppose them. They're not going to carry the fight to them. So therefore, they come in and go out sometimes on a daily basis. I'm going to say that again. I want people to understand that sometimes they come and they go on a daily basis. And the locals, they just had enough. And this was the result. Gangsters like the Israelis, they do not respond to statements and UN resolutions and such like that. Now, to be fair, I want to read for you what the Syrian Foreign Ministry had to say about the incident. And I quote, "We condemn the Israeli aggression on the village of Beit Jinn, which targeted innocent civilians." It went on to say, "These attacks constitute a serious threat to regional security and requires a firm international stance, which ain't coming. Next, we affirm our full right to defend our land and people by all legitimate means. End quote. What does that mean exactly? I don't really know what that means, to be real with you. We condemn the Israeli aggression. So, who cares? Who cares if you condemn it or not? Come on, guys. We've seen what happened in a genocide taking place. How many condemnations are there going to be? If you're not going to do anything, if you're not going to stop them, you can save your condemnations because they don't mean anything. Then it goes on to say these attacks constitute a serious threat to regional security. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. Who doesn't know that? And I'm sure the Israelis are sitting there saying, and then in another statement it says, we affirm our full right to defend our land and people by all legitimate means. I don't know what that means. We're not seeing it on the ground. These types of attacks we've been seeing on a regular. When are we going to see some pushback? We're not seeing it so far. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. All right, brothers and sisters, let's take a look and see what's important to you. Okay. All right, next. Bilal, be real. The Mujahideen only fight Shia and Druze and other Sunnis. No. Nope, it's not true. Not true. Next. Assalamu alaikum. Happy for brother Hassan Saadi, but sad for Syria. Hassan Saadi is one of those who were, inshallah ta'ala, was accepted as a martyr by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it says, happy for brother Hassan Saadi, but sad for Syrian government already need to account for children's and women killed by Israelis. Need answer from these tawhuts. Yo, listen, y'all. Let me talk business for a second. Hold on. Now, you didn't join, I'm talking about the Syrian government, you didn't join the Tahaluf, which is a major sin. You've been to the White House. You sat with Trump more than once. You've given certain government contracts to American companies. You are fulfilling a wish list so that you can keep the sanctions above your heads. And the Americans are the ones that are bankrolling the Israelis. Are you really telling me the Americans can't rein in the Israelis? Not buying it. Not buying it. So now I'm asking the question, what's the point? Syria doesn't have an ISIS crisis. I'm going to say this again. Syria does not have an ISIS crisis. They don't. There was no need to join this coalition against ISIS. This is a coalition against Muslims. But yet they join them. And look at this. Killing of Syrians inside of Syria. 13 Syrians were killed in the airstrikes and 25 were injured. Okay, so, and America, to my understanding at the moment of this broadcast, they haven't said anything. Where's Trump now? What about all the coordination that's supposed to be taking place with the coalition? Oh, wait a minute. Coalition's only against Muslims. They don't seem to know much about when the Israelis are going to attack. What's the point of having them? When was the last time that you heard that ISIS took over a town? When was the last time you heard that ISIS took over a supermarket in Syria? I'm just being real with you, brothers and sisters. I'm giving it to you as it is. It's not there. It's fake. It's false. And now, for the people who are saying, oh, well, he has to do that because to protect the Syrian people, where's the protection at? You're telling me that the bigger threat to Syria and Syrians are a defanged ISIS group that hasn't carried out an attack in a long time, more longer than I can remember, that they're more of a threat than the Israelis who are coming back and forth inside of Syrian territory at will? Ain't buying it. Ain't buying it. Next, the game 7922 says, how is it Israel occupies Syria when Hayat Tahrir Sham in their name were meant to liberate Syria? Bilal, are you saying they didn't fulfill their name? Well, if you want to look at it, let me see if I have a map available here. Let's take a look and see. No, unfortunately, I don't have that map. Okay, but here's the deal. In the northeastern part of the country, you have the SDF and Kurdish aligned PKK militia forces. They control somewhere around 35% of Syria. 30 to 35% of Syria. That's a lot of territory. In the southwest, you've got the Quneitra areas. That's on the borders of this country known as Israel. And they come over the line, they take more territory, expand their checkpoints, and arrest Syrians in Dara and in Quneitra. So they're running a lot of the show out there. It's not Damascus. I continue. In the southeastern part of the country, you have Suedat, which is an entire governorate, which is, and I think I have that map, or I think that displays on this map, an entire governorate, which is controlled by Hikmet Hajri, who is Tel Aviv's man in Syria, and they fly the Syrian flag. In brown is where you see Suedat. All of that brown area, all of that is basically Tel Aviv country. That's real. You know, I'm just giving it to you straight, brothers and sisters. That's what it looks like. So you're asking me if, are you saying that they didn't fulfill their name? I'm not going to say that they didn't fulfill their name. What I'm going to say is, you know, here in Syria, a lot of people are celebrating the liberation of Syria. And I do think that there is something to celebrate. But not like that. You've got so much of the country that's outside of the territory of the Syrians. You've got, I should say, outside of the control of the capital, meaning Damascus. Sueida is gone. Good portions of Quneitra is gone. The northeast is in the control of the SDF territory, of the SDF hands. Inside of, just south of the capital, Damascus, you've got Israeli troops pulling off operations, go for 2 hours. Not a shot is fired. You've got Muslims, some sheikhs, some former fighters who are languishing in prisons, who've never been to see a judge. They've been there for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. Never been to see a judge. The celebrations are misplaced right now. I do think that people should have a sense of pride, of accomplishment, but at the same time, the celebrations are misplaced at the moment with the jails being the way that they are here in Syria. Torture is still there, and so on and so forth. I have to tell you. All right, we've got here, Bilal, where is Ahmed al-Adwa? Will he push back the Israelis if they cross into his territory? Ahmed al-Awda. Ahmed al-Awda no longer controls territory. He controlled some territory in the southern part of the country during the Assad era and slightly after the Assad era, but he's no longer there. And he wasn't effective in protecting the borders either. He wasn't. So losing him there in the southern areas doesn't seem to be a big loss. And Allah knows best. We've got Salam from Pamela Chubb from Ireland. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, next up. Before we get to the next question, brothers and sisters, I want to just call you to do one thing. Please do something for us that we can really use your help. Please check out our crowdfunding page. That's on Madina.com/Voices of Truth. That's Medina, MADINAH.com/Voices of Truth. Keep us strong, keep us independent. Take a look and see the project that we're working on. It would be great if you could help us out. $5, $10, $100, $1,000, anything that you could do. Wallahi, we would be so happy and grateful for it. Okay, let's go back. We have a question here. Okay, we've got Ahmed Ashara needs to read the Cheryl Bernard Islam Democratic book, How the Strategy Approach Towards Different Groups and Jamaat to Weak Wahhabism and Islam. Cheryl Bernard is Islamic Democratic book. Yeah, I'm not so familiar with that. It's like I heard it before, but I can't place it. I'm really sorry about that. Okay. Next. Assalamu alaikum. Brother, hope you are well. I hear about some Alawite and other minorities targeted. What are your thoughts? I'm never ever one who says that Alawites in general or any people in general should be targeted. And that includes Alawites, Druze, Shia, or anybody else. If there are specific perpetrators, then they should be targeted. But just to say, look, and I understand there's a lot of bad blood between Sunnis and Alawites. I get that. I totally get that. But also at the same time, where is this circle of blood going to end? I'll tell you where it should end. It should end in a courtroom. That's where it should end. Suspects should be apprehended, tried, and punished. Not extrajudicial killings or reprisal attacks or kidnappings and so on and so forth. I'm not a fan of that. I don't think that's the right thing. And I think that will significantly delay the real victories here in Syria. Now, okay. Okay, we've got here, the game 7922 says, the new government sold the Golan Heights. Trump signed it off to the Israelis, and the new government put him on billboards in the capital of Damascus. Anybody who honors the one whom Allah dishonors is a fool. Donald Trump is not Muslim. I can't even say that he's a Christian, even though he was saying Christianity's coming back to America. I don't know what's that got to do with him. But also at the same time, is Donald Trump not dishonored by Allah? If Allah wanted to honor him, he would have made him Muslim, but he didn't. That's reality. So Islam was not bestowed upon Donald Trump. At best, he calls for shirk. At worst, I don't know if it's best or worst, is that he has no God. Whichever way it is bad news for him, and he is dishonored. I do not honor anybody whom Allah dishonors. So, the Syrian people, in my opinion, need to take matters into their own hands, which is totally within the scope of Islam, that when the Israelis attack, they resist. Whether there are Syrian troops in the area or not, for whatever reasons those troops are or are not there, attack or do not attack, at the end of the day, the aggression by the Zionists of Israel will not stop unless you show them something. And Allah knows best. Now, next, don't you think it is possible for Syria to topple the Israeli regime like they did with Assad? Anything's possible, brother. Anything's possible with Allah and people who are in service of their Lord and his religion. Anything is possible. The sky's the limit. I think we have to have big goals, lofty goals, and not just to settle for some crumbs that Washington might give, knowing that they can snatch them crumbs back at any time. Oh, wait a minute. That's what happened with the land here, because the ones who are being the Israelis are being funded by America. How's America a friend? You're funding the people who are taking and encroaching on more territory. You're funding the people who are carrying out military assaults in our land with your weapons. What, you don't know what them jokers are doing? Of course they know what they're doing. They know it very well. The joke's on you. Okay, next. The Game 7922 responded to that and says they don't believe they can. So let's talk about this for a brief second here. About belief. You see, the first thing about whatever dream or goal that you have, the first one who has to believe it is you. Don't expect anybody else to sign on to it if you yourself don't believe it. If I say that I want to be able to bench press 160 kilos, okay, sounds nice. But if even I don't believe it and I tell my wife, hey, baby, you know what? I can only bench press about 72 right now, but I want to bench press 150, 160 kilos. But I'm not working out. I'm not going to the gym. I'm not doing anything to make my way to that goal. You think she's convinced of it? No. If I say, honey, you got to make the food that I need so that I can arrive at that 150 kilo, 160 kilo goal. And she's like, inshallah. She's not going to take anything that you say seriously because you yourself don't believe that it's possible. You understand? Got to believe it first. Once you believe it and work towards it, then you'll find that other people will also support it. But you yourself, us in this case, have got to take the initiative. Okay. Just kind of jumped in this conversation here. I think it is very possible, to be honest, but not in the near future, since the toppling of the Assad regime was said to be impossible as well. It's all possible, brothers and sisters. It's all possible. Now, okay, Bird Nest Rats Fest says, World War II coalition mission was/is to dismantle Islamic rule or power. It is the same coalition today. Nothing changed. Only I was born yesterday and don't know reality, isn't it, lads? Yeah, that's it. They understand, I'm talking about the enemies of Islam, they understand very well that the only governing system that could stand against their hegemony is only Islam, nothing else, only Islam. It's not going to be Christianity because they've got their own, they're purporting Christianity themselves and they're the aggressors. It's not going to be Buddhism. It's not going to be Sikhism. It's not going to be any of that. But in a Sharia compliant state, their aggression cannot take place because even the leader, even if he wanted to cozy up to the enemies, they would not be allowed because the second most powerful person in Islamic compliant state would be the judiciary, the head judge, because even the leader is accountable to his rulings. That's why they don't want Islam. Okay. Bilal is coming to December, and I heard Ahmed Shara Turkey will launch an offensive in December if SDF doesn't merge. So when will SDF be merging? I don't think it's going to happen. And I don't think that there's going to be an immediate attack right now. I mean, look, when we talk about the SDF, they control 35% of Syrian territory. They have military firepower, which is left over from when they fought ISIS and was armed by the Americans. They have a $130 million budget, which was just approved on the 10th of October. So is that what, 6 weeks ago or so? What's their motivation to merge? They're sitting there and they're watching as Ahmed al-Shara and his government bungled the whole Suwaydat project. Suwaydat is Israeli territory. So, and there's been no military efforts made to take Suwaydat back. So it's kind of like if I was Madlouma Abdi and I'm sitting there thinking, Suwaydat's got a bunch of mounted boys with Kalashnikovs. We've got a real military here. If they didn't take them back, could they take our territory? I don't think so. So I think that that they're not going to merge. I think that if there is a merger, that the best it will be is largely symbolic. In other words, the SDF will enter into the defense ministry as one single block. They will fly the Syrian flag, but they will have autonomy in those areas. And don't think that all of a sudden that the resources, the gas, the oil fields and such like that are going to be handed over to Damascus for free when it's under the control of the SDF. Brothers and sisters, that ain't going to happen. And Allah knows best. Okay, we have here also a humble suggestion is for you to do a Twitter space that would have a wider reach and with dialogue, which would be very beneficial. Yes, we're doing a Twitter space right now. We're doing both. So yeah, do check it out on the Twitter account, which is at Bilal Kareem, at Bilal Kareem. That's BILALKAREEM. Okay. We've got Assalamu alaikum, German forces in the house. He says, Brother Bilal, when the Arab tribes wanted to free Suwaydat, the Syrian government intervened on behalf of Israel's plea, right? Why would the Arab tribes obey Ahmed al-Shara if they are so strong? The way it happened back in the summertime is that there were well, let's see, where are we going to take this back to? There were Sunni tribes which were under attack by Druze militia forces. How that happened or whatever, that's a different issue, and we'll talk about that another time. But they were under attack. So they called out for help. Ahmed al-Shara sent his forces. When he sent his forces, the Israelis bombed a couple of the cars on the convoy and all. They stayed in the Suwaydat area for a little while, and then they left, which made things worse. Why? Because the people whom the Sunni tribes called on for help, which was the government, they came, they got hit, and then they left. And that left them open to reprisal attacks. I'm talking about the Sunni tribes. Now, when that happened, they called upon the only ones whom they could after Allah, which were the tribesmen. Around the country, they flooded into Suwaydat. They were not a unified force. Everybody just kind of took a territory and just started shooting. But they came in such numbers that those Druze militia forces couldn't stand up to them. I myself was in the city of Suwaydat. Now, if a brown fellow was in Suwaydat, you know that there's some friendly forces there because I can't blend in the crowd. Anyway, at any rate, so the tribesmen took over a good portion of the countryside and the main city. All right, but what happened? Ahmed Shah's forces then decided to re-engage. They came back to the area after having deserted the area, went to the tribesmen and said, hey man, good job, you did great, we got it from here. And they would then take over the territory. Now the tribesmen didn't go there to govern. That's not what they went for. So of course they didn't have a problem. They handed the territory over to what they saw were friendly forces, and that's what they did. But only some hours or some days later, you would see that the Druze militia forces are back again in the same territory that the tribesmen took. But wait a minute, there's a different thing, there's a new wrinkle involved. The security forces from Ahmed Shara actually cut off the entrances so that the tribesmen could go out, but they couldn't come back in. So that they could go out and couldn't come back in. That's history, brothers and sisters. I'll challenge anybody who will tell me that that's not what happened. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. They set up checkpoints. We did videos from there. We did reports from there. And they set up checkpoints. Some of the tribesmen were quite angry because of that. They saw that they had taken territory and the territory was going back over to the Druze militia forces. Now, at this time, Damascus doesn't control anything in Suwaydat, and the flag of Israel flies in some places in Suwaydat. So the issue wasn't about the power of the tribes. The tribes didn't go to govern, and they felt that the right thing to do, based upon what was known at that time, was to hand the territory over to Damascus-based troops. Excuse me. And that's what they did. And this was the result. And Allah knows best. All right. Excuse me. Next. Okay. All right, next. Bilal, who actually kidnapped the Austin Tice the Americans keep talking about? Theo Padnos, who was kidnapped by Nusra, said Nusra kidnapped Austin Tice as well. Now, I can't confirm that. I don't know. I don't know. If I knew, I would tell you, but I don't know that. That doesn't seem very practical. I don't think that that's what happened. I don't. And Allah knows best. Okay, Brother Bilal, not all Druze and Druze leaders in Suwaydat support Israel right now, and there are still non-Druze in Suwaydat living peacefully like ISDF-controlled areas. Yeah, but they're not living in peace, in comfort. No, they're not. No, they're not. So don't be fooled into thinking like, yo, we chilling. What? There ain't nothing going on here. You see, that's not true. That's the first thing. Second thing, yes, it's true. Not all Druze and Druze leaders support Israel. But the dominating group that's there, that's controlling and administering the territory, they do. And that's what counts. So I understand what you're saying. It's not all. And this is very, very true. It's like in America. Not all Americans are for backing the Israelis, bankrolling them, supporting a genocide. But the reality of the situation is that the governing entity right now is totally for it. So being that some Americans aren't for it, I mean, what are we saying exactly? You see? And Allah knows best. All right, let's take one or two more. Okay, we've got Mo 546 who says, Syria is unable to do anything as U.S. is backing Israel. To balance the power, Syria may be supported by Russia, China, and other region power. This will lead to World War III. I can't really say, I can't really speak to that point, but what I can say is that letting them come in and take your citizens and take your land and you don't resist, that's not an option. It's not an option. Okay, because then the question goes out, where's it going to end? The Americans are not going to rein them in. It's crystal clear they're not going to rein them in. So where's it going to end? When all of southern Syria is gone south of Damascus, and then what? Damascus after that, and then what? Homs after that? Do you believe, watching what the Israelis have been doing in the Palestinian territories, that they're going to stop? They're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And Allah knows best. They're not going to stop. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Bilal. Brother Bilal. Is it wise for Sunni Muslims to prefer Assad over Jolani, as some think Jolani is a Mossad agent? No, absolutely not. Bashar al-Assad not only was an enemy to the Syrian people, whether they be whatever they are, he was an enemy to practicing Muslims and non-practicing Muslims. He was a total menace to society. There was no good in the rule of Bashar al-Assad. Now, just because we are not completely satisfied with the efforts made by Ahmed al-Shara, that by no means that Bashar al-Assad was a good idea. The issue is not just either Ahmed al-Shara or Bashar al-Assad. That's just not the reality on the ground. It's not. All righty. It's very obvious the Sunni world is focused on Syria and its leadership. There is further an expectation from the Shia government to set up an Islamic State and free Aqsa post. All right, come on, brother. Look, let's talk for a second here. Your baby trying to make a point, if I understand it properly, is that you're saying that there's such expectations from Ahmed al-Shara to set up an Islamic government, and he hasn't been able to do that as of yet, and that's why the people are on him. Nope. It's not true. It's not true. Listen, brother, you don't have to have an Islamic government to know that you should not be indefinitely detaining people. You don't have to. I mean, if you look at mainstream America, they're not Muslims. There's no Sharia there. But they know well enough that when you arrest somebody, that they deserve to see a judge and to be charged, and he can challenge his detention. Not the same thing here. You don't need Islam to see that on the real to real. Torture, it's here. Who can sit there and tell you that it's not? So I'm saying you don't need, or you shouldn't need to have Islam to know that you shouldn't be like torturing people. You really need? You don't know that? So what I'm saying here is that let's leave the whole Sharia issue to the side for a moment, and let's see some establishment of some basic institutions that are calling for justice, no torture, no indefinite detention, and suspects are innocent until proven guilty. That's what we want to see. And then we can talk about whether the expectations are too much. But I'm sorry, brothers and sisters, this was how Idlib was run, and that's how Syria is being run now. And Allah knows best. I got to tell it to you. I can't fake it. I can't fake it for you. Okay. All right, we'll take this one as the last one. And it says, be honest, do you believe having power and money is sufficient enough for the current government to leave the path of establishing Sharia. They weren't on the path to establishing the Sharia in Idlib. Why would I think that they should be on the path to establishing Sharia in the entirety of Syria? Why should I think that? What would I be basing that on? What they're doing now is what they were doing in Idlib. They're not doing anything any different. That's why when the country fell from the hands of Bashar al-Assad, that's why I wasn't jumping up and down and you was, oh man, because I knew those who were governing Idlib, who are now in charge of the country, what their governing style is. And here it is. Brothers and sisters, please, we're going to wrap it up here. Take a look at our crowdfunding page. It is medina.com/voices of truth. Take a look and see what we're working on. Please do support us. Anything that you can do for us, it would be great. And we would love to have any donation that you possibly could, $5, $50, $100, $1,000 or more. So please do check it out. Medina.com. That's Medina, MADINAH.com/voices of truth. I am your host, Bilal Abdul Kareem. Jazakum Allahu khaira. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.